The kids who get bit by radioactive insects, powers usually show up the next day.
Or they die.
Oh, look at... But kids who inherit...
To me, Sky High was always this elusive movie for some reason. I remember them playing it a lot on Disney Channel in maybe 2008-ish when I was about 6 years old or so. I always loved the movie, but I could never manage to not be doing something when that movie came on. Which is weird, because I was 6 years old. It's not like I had to drive my daughter to soccer practice or anything, so I don't know what the f I was up to. Regardless, Sky High has held the spot for my favorite Disney Channel original movie for 18 years since its initial release on July 29th, 2005. I don't know what it was specifically about this movie, but... What? No, that's not true. It aired on the Disney Channel constantly. I'm pretty sure I'd know because unlike you, I was alive when this movie came out. No, that can't be true. Oh my fucking god, my whole life is a lie. Well, apparently, Sky High released in theaters on July 29th, 2005 to mixed reviews and a box office that was a little more than double its $35 million budget. It made $86.4 million, so that would be considered a success by most people's standards, which is good because this movie fucking rocks. Listen, I don't really think I need to say much more about this movie. The fact that it has Kurt fucking Russell should let you know that this movie is literally fucking awesome. This movie also came out shortly after I was even born, so it's not like I have much to talk about in terms of this movie. On top of that, as far as I'm aware, there's not that much interesting lore to delve into for this movie in terms of its production and initial release. So I'm just gonna do the thing where I transition into the video now, if that's okay with you. Sky High, like every other movie I've reviewed on this channel thus far, begins with a stylized opening sequence narrated by the main character, telling us how different and odd their life is compared to your average teenager. We learn that the Commander and Jetstream are the parents of our main character, but we quickly learn that our main character is a fucking pussy and can't even rep 60 pounds. Seriously, why does this kid have a whole ass bench in his room if he can't even lift anything? The average male high schooler could probably get this to move at least a half inch. We then officially meet the parents of the main character, Steve Stronghold, played by Kurt Russell. He's a real estate agent with superhuman strength. And Josie DeMarco Stronghold, played by Kelly Preston, who is a real estate agent but she can fly and punch people really, really hard. Our main character is named Will and he's played by Michael Ungarano. Will is a pathological liar who refuses to tell his dad that he can't even bench press half of his own body weight. After Steve tells his son that he'll probably be dead soon and then nearly kills his son, we're introduced to Layla Williams, played by Danielle Panabaker. Every time I watched this movie as a kid, I would fall a little deeper in love with her every time she was on screen. This is one of the few things that apparently stayed consistent in my life because I'm just now realizing this is the actor that plays Caitlin Snow in The Flash, and I literally want her so bad. She would be so mean to me, and I would love it so much. But just then, the phone from Wonder Pets begins to ring, and Commander Cockring and Jetstream have to take their leave. They go out to fight this giant robot, and there are a couple of funny things I really need to point out here. Firstly, the way that she yeets him is just so funny, but also the Commander is huge in proportion to these buildings. I mean, he is literally the size of one of these windows. I would highly recommend that he switch career paths if he's actually 8 feet tall. Will and Layla make their way onto the school bus for Sky High, and the bus driver finds it necessary to announce that the son of the Commander and Jetstream has arrived. This is where we're introduced to the token black friend, Ethan, but his actor's name is DJ Daniels, which is a much cooler name, so I'm gonna call him that. We also then meet the goth angsty chick, Magenta. The bus driver wants Magenta and DJ to give their seats up for Will because he's a stronghold, and DJ, sit your ass down! Rosa Parks did not go to jail for this shit! The other important character we meet in this scene is named Marshall Mathers, played by Nicholas Braun. Okay, quick funny break here for a second. This character's name is actually Zachary Braun, and his actor's name is Nicholas Braun. They actually use the actor's actor's real last name for his character, and I think that's interesting. But I'm gonna call him Marshall Mathers because to me, this kid looks like the twink version of Eminem. His power is a secret for now, but you can probably guess what it is because he's dressed like a fucking highlighter. After the bus driver picks up the last student, we get the scene that blew my fucking mind as a child, where the bus driver drives 80 miles an hour off of a highway, killing all of the students instantly, and the movie ends. After the bus driver picks up the last student, we get the scene that blew my fucking mind as a child, where the bus driver drives 80 miles an hour off of an on-ramp and the bus begins to fly. He also does a loop-de-loop, and I think that's pretty cool. The bus driver then explains that the school is constantly moving so that supervillains can't find it, and the location of the school is only provided to highly qualified individuals, which would have to be the entire damn staff of the school, right? Like, how else are they gonna, you know, get to work? I actually really enjoy the bus driver character. He's played by Kevin Heffernan, and I really hope that we get more of him. Contrary to what you might think, crime actually runs rampant at Sky High. The first thing that we witness at the school is sexual harassment and subsequently physical assault. But to be fair, these two entirely deserved it. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Next we meet the adequately named Speed, because he's fast, and he's also a dick. And we meet Speed's co-conspirator, Lash. He's stretchy, and he's also a dick. Speed and Lash are called off by Gwen Grayson, played by Mary Elizabeth Winstead. She's the student body president at Sky High who Will has the hots for. The next character in line is Principal Powers. Yeah, it was gonna happen at some point in this movie, wasn't it? Principal Powers lets all the students know that they're about to attend Power Placement, led by Coach Boomer. His super name is Sonic Boom because he can talk really fucking loud. Power Placement is where the students will find out whether or not they'll become superheroes or sidekicks, and Layla immediately calls this fascist. She's not wrong, but wow, that was really far out of left field. The assessment begins, and Marshall's power is to glow in the dark. Well, that's f***ing lame. Coach Boomer tests everyone's powers and literally sexually assaults the kid who turns into him, which is concerning on more than one level. Magenta also turns into a hamster, which is also lame, and Layla refuses to use her powers unless absolutely necessary. At this point, all the students go to lunch, and so far, every single one of the main characters has been given the role of sidekick. The group has a quick run-in with this guy, named War and Peace, which, yes, is a joke about the book named War and Peace. Warren's father was arrested by the commander, so naturally, Warren hates Will. Personally, though, if he looked at me like this, I'd be more horny than scared. After lunch is over, they go back to gym class, where Will is up next on the chopping block. Will fesses up about the fact that he doesn't actually have superpowers. This enrages the gym teacher, and he kills Will. After Coach Boomer's first murder attempt fails, he launches Will into a wall in an attempt to kill him in a more creative way. But after that doesn't fail, he gives up and screams so loud that it breaks the glass of the bus on the other side of the school. Not gonna say anything more than the fact that this would kill Will and everybody else near him. So maybe Will is indestructible after all. The nurse tells Will that although it is very rare, having two superpowered parents doesn't mean that you will get superpowers. An example of this is apparently the bus driver, who had two superpowered parents but ended up being powerless. The bus driver also breaks the glass that was apparently replaced on the last scene, so I guess Safe Light really works that fast, huh? Will gets home and says he needs to talk to his father. Steve takes Will to the office which houses the secret entrance to the secret sanctum. He specifies to Will that he can never take anyone into the secret sanctum. I'm only mentioning this specific line because Will is most definitely gonna take someone in there later in this movie. Steve shows Will around and specifically makes mention of this weapon called Royal Pains Pacifier. There's even a whole flashback about it, so that's most definitely gonna be important later. It's also specified that no one even knows what this thing does. My thing is though, shouldn't all these souvenirs be getting repossessed by the government or some other agency? It seems weird that he'd get to keep all the superpowered gears just for shits and giggles. All it would take is for one supervillain to mind control him and the commander could kill everyone in the world with this stuff in his basement alone. But after the unbearable weight of massive talent gets to Will, he plays pool with his father instead of telling him about the powers that he doesn't have. Remember how I said that taking the things that he gets from battle is probably a dangerous and bad idea? I'd hope you remember it because I literally said it 2 sentences ago. And I was right. Somebody is now spying on them through the robot eye. Layla uses her powers now because apparently this is what Warren says is absolutely necessary, she gives Will a little pep talk and then uses her powers again to make Will an apple, because once again, this is an absolutely necessary use of her powers. The next day, all the kids attend Hero Support class, led by All-American Boy, or just Mr. Boy now. His full legal name is Jonathan Boy, and yes, I did check. This class is depressing, because we learn that the sidekicks are named and dressed by the heroes that they are assigned to. Mr. Boy was also at one point the sidekick of the commander, and Will was apparently never told about this because the commander is incredibly egotistical. After a small explosion, we learn that Marshall does in fact glow in the dark, and we're introduced to Professor Medulla, played by Kevin McDonald. He teaches mad science at Sky High. We get a short sequence of the students in class, which I like. I think every single movie I've reviewed on the channel this month has taken place in a school, but not one of them has had a scene where the students actually do anything in a classroom. But I do think it's easy for this movie because they just get to do random superhero shit for 55 seconds. Mr. Stronghold meets Will's friends and finds out that Will has befriended only sidekicks. Mr. Stronghold seems about as happy as if Will were to come out as gay at this very moment. But he does seem to only like it though because he thinks it's a power move for Will to have so many sidekicks. But Will finally comes forward and says that he's a sidekick, and this makes the dad reasonably upset. I really hope that this guy isn't an angry drunk. Will has come to terms with being a sidekick and leaves his father to do the same, which is kind of a Giga Chad move on his part. In the next scene, Steve gives Josie a rundown of the situation, and I'm only mentioning this because Josie mentions that Will is 14 years old. This nigga is not 14 years old. The next day, because Lash is a dick, he tricks Will, causing him to spill his food onto War and Peace's table. War and Peace's powers come straight from Super Mario, and he decides to use these powers to try and kill Will. I'd like to remind you that Will's father put Warren's father in jail, so basically Warren wants a punishment that fits the crime. But this trial by fire causes Will to get his superpowers, and Will kills Warren with blunt force trauma to the head. After bringing Warren back to life, the principal takes Warren to a detention room which neutralizes all superpowers. The principal also promptly leaves these kids alone in a room, even though Warren literally just tried to murder Will. That night, Mommy and Daddy aren't too excited about the arson and destruction of property that took place on campus today. But the father was just putting on an act because he's just happy that his son has superpowers. Also, something about this scene is so funny to me.
But I don't have an Xbox.
Are you sure?
I think it's just the smile that the dad does after turning the chair around. The gang is all happy that someone with actually good powers can be considered a sidekick, but Will is sadly transferred to hero classes the same day. Because all other lab partners are taken, he gets paired with Gwen. Professor Medulla then uses the freeze ray that Gwen built to ice these kids. I imagine assault laws are still the same even if you are 5,000 feet in the air, because this just has to be straight up illegal. Unlucky for the rest of the group, the power dynamic is now shifted and they don't want the sidekicks to sit at the table with the heroes. Will sincerely apologizes to Layla for this and offers to take her out for dinner. Shortly thereafter, he saves Marshall and DJ from being shoved into lockers. DJ then takes it upon himself to challenge Speed and Lash to a game of Save the Citizen. And if they win, Speed and Lash have to stop literally physically assaulting them every damn day. Even at Sky High, teachers do nothing about bullies being dicks to students. Some things are just universal, I guess. Speed and Lash choose to challenge Will and Warren. Also, just keep this line of dialogue in your head for the next scene when you see what the game actually is.
Remember when we used to use real citizens? Yes.
Will and Warren have 3 minutes to save the citizen from being ground to death. This game is incredibly violent. After immobilizing Lash, Speed begins to literally choke Warren to death, but Will puts a quick stop to that by throwing him around like a goth woman to a twink, and then throws Warren in a similar fashion to save the citizen and win the competition. Everyone rushes to the stage to congratulate Will for saving the citizen, but his side chicks get lost in the shuffle. Gwen comes over by surprise to get ahead on some schoolwork with Will, and it's safe to say that Will is now horny and his parents are now impressed. But Will being so cum-brained causes him to forget his date with Layla. I'm sorry, but Layla better, and Will is incredibly stupid for not realizing that. Gwen also says that they plan on awarding the Strongholds with the first Heroes of the Year award at the school's homecoming. A really weird time to do that. Is Sky High the only superhero institution that exists in this universe? Back at the restaurant, Warren actually ends up working there. He ends up being kind of a Chad with Layla and cheers her up. He also points out that Layla has a quite obvious crush on Will, but because this man is a king, he just keeps working on cheering her up. If he wanted to, he could end up with Layla and I wouldn't even be mad because bro is incredibly smooth. Like seriously, if Layla doesn't date him, I will. I was gonna skip the scene where Will and Gwen announce that they're gonna go to homecoming together, but Mr. Grayson is played by Jim Rash, and I really love Jim Rash. But also the evil guys from earlier are planning to steal back the pacifier and attack Homecoming. But it's now so incredibly obvious that Mr. Grayson is the minion guy for 2 reasons. Firstly, Jim Rash has a very distinctive voice.
Right, the pacifier.
And secondly, just like the Dean from Community, he likes to be choked. Layla wants to confess her feelings to Will, but Will admits to going to Homecoming with Gwen. We also do need to touch on the fact that Gwen is 17 and a senior, and Will is 14 and a freshman, and that is very, very weird. However, after learning that Will is now taken, Layla announces that she's gonna go to Homecoming with War and Peace, seemingly just to get back at Will. Regardless, War and Peace is all on board with this if it means he can get back at Will in any way, shape, or form. While studying with Will, don't ask why he's wearing a blindfold, Gwen gets a call from the Homecoming committee. They tell her that there's a problem with the decorations and she'll have to make the fog machine herself.
See, now that's some bullshit.
But Will says that the Homecoming committee can stop by so she can build the fog machine. But Gwen ends up inviting every single member of the hero class. Will gets sad that his side pieces can't be at the party because they're not heroes. And Gwen says that she wants to be alone with Will. Yeah, she's evil, isn't she? Because Will is horny, he takes Gwen to the secret sanctum, called it, and someone steals the pacifier, also called it. Layla then shows at the party and Gwen plants the lie in her head that Will hates her fucking guts. But Layla kinda takes it like a champ, and when Will comes around, she is far from interested in talking to him. She then tells him to go have fun fucking with that lawyer or brain surgeon or whoever he's rocking with.
Nigga.
Will dumps Gwen because he's a Chad now, but it doesn't really matter because she already got what she wanted anyway. Will tries to kick everyone out of the house, but it's already too late because his parents have already shown up, and Commander Corona gives one loud scream that reminds everyone of their own father, and they all promptly leave. They want to punish Will by not letting him go to Homecoming, but the dad insists they have to so they can come out as the world's strongest superhero family. But obviously, as Will is now single and has no friends, Will is no longer interested in Homecoming. Will tries to get Layla back, but because she has literally any self-worth at all, she doesn't bother to pick up the phone when he calls. Will also invites her to the same place where he ghosted her. Seriously, I can't even believe he actually tried that. Are you stupid? Also, yes, in case you were wondering, Professor Medulla f***s. But because Warren is f***ing hot and awesome, he lets Will on the fact that he's only going to Homecoming with Layla to make him jealous. But Warren and Layla are a cute couple and I don't give a f***. I want them to get together. Super MILF gives Will a pep talk and asks him to put away an old yearbook for her. Will decides to flip through this just for fun, but he notices that one of the girls in the yearbook looks suspiciously like Gwen. And that's because she's literally Gwen. Everyone is just too stupid to notice. I skipped over this scene, but earlier in the movie, the entire Stronghold family is looking at a yearbook and not one of them noticed that this girl looks exactly like Gwen, but with glasses.
Teenage girl? Patty the teenage girl!
Mr. Stronghold's whole secret identity is just him with glasses, so you think he would catch on. But Will realizes that Gwen built the pacifier and it is now missing, so Will calls Ron for a ride to the school. Gwen gives a short speech but gets straight to the part where she announces she's evil. Called it. In case you couldn't guess by the name, the pacifier makes people into fucking babies. EDP 445's wet dream, I'm sure. Also, all the minor superhero characters from earlier end up being evil as well, and they trap everyone in the room so that Royal Pain can just keep turning motherfuckers into babies. Wow, that is a wild plan. I mean, it works, but that is a weird way to do it. Marshall finally makes himself useful and lights their way out of this vent, and Will gives a speech about how sorry he is for neglecting his friends for the whole movie and decides now is the best time to put the moves on Layla. You, Warren should have her. The threatening three over here try to stop the gang from stopping their evil plans, but to get away, Will just runs straight through this wall. But because Magenta and Marshall are actually sane, they just take a much more safe exit back through the vents. I also do think that this scene is pretty funny where Royal Pain and Stitches are just taking care of these babies. DJ tricks Lash into thinking he flushed himself, and when Lash checks the toilet, DJ literally drowns him. Seriously, this guy is dead. Royal Pain and Stitches load the babies onto a bus and gives an evil speech to baby Steve Stronghold, but the evilest thing about the speech is the pneumonia she's wearing while giving it. Gwen explains that she was turned into a baby by the pacifier she created and she's been raised by Stitches ever since. And she's already given the whole speech, so she just skips straight to the part where she kills Will. DJ and Warren probably just killed this guy, by the way. Like, bro, he just ran this guy's skull into a stone wall? Layla does a poison ivy, and I've seen too much hentai to look at this normally, but Khadijah says says that Royal Pain's plan is to drop Sky High out of the sky. So this is where Ultron got his plan in Avengers 2. Magenta becomes a hamster and sneaks through some pipes to a generator to hopefully stop the school from falling out of the sky. At the same time though, Will gets absolutely and is launched out of the school to fall to his death. But because this dude's plot armor is the only thing thicker than Warren's, he learns that he has the ability to fly. The bus driver also defeats Stitches, and that's because he's secretly One Punch Man. Magenta makes it to the generator but can't cut the wire before Royal Pain emergency drops the school. So Will goes to try and bench press the entire school, but it turns out he's not that guy. Lucky for him, Magenta ends up chewing through the wire right before he got flattened out like that was Mario Kart Wii. The gang doesn't know what to do with all the babies, but it turns out that Professor Medulla still has his superhuman intelligence, and you know what? This scene is actually kind of funny.
Hey, Mr. Peace.
Yeah?
Regrettably, I have made Boom Boom.
But I think it's just because Kevin McDonald is a good voice actor and actor, which honestly helped out his role a lot. Will admits to letting Royal Pain into the secret lair, but Mr. Stronghold says that the entire thing was a trap, including Homecoming, and he's just glad that he was able to stop her. Yeah, that is true, but remember that her entire plan hinged on even having the pacifier in the first place, so this is still all Will's fault. Mr. Stronghold also gives Hero of the Year award to the sidekicks, and that's mega based. Also, this is this entire scene, and I don't know what the point of it was.
I can't do anything more to help you. I'm not Wonder Woman, you know.
But after being traumatically turned into babies, everyone is still ready to get dancing again. And Will is rewarded for saving the day with a hot midair makeout session. You know, this is like that scene in The Boys when Homelander and Stormfront, everyone gets their happy endings and the bad guys went to jail, and Ron fell into a vat of toxic waste and becomes a superhero. So that's probably not how that would work. But the movie is over now, so I don't have enough fucks to give at this point. You know, that was genuinely one of the most fun movies I've watched in a while. I feel like this movie was ridiculous enough to make stupid commentary kinda easy, but it plays by its own consistent rules so that it doesn't feel like it doesn't make any sense. Something that I think is also worth appreciating is that all the heroes in the movie only have one power each. I mean, of course, save our main character who has two superpowered parents. The only other superhero in the movie to have two superhuman parents was War and Peace, but considering we don't even see either of them, I think it's fine for them to bend that rule a bit. Other than that, a lot of the rules that this movie plays by are consistent and make sense. Another great example of this is something as simple as the school constantly moving to avoid detection. I mean, there are some obvious holes you could poke in the story though. And I mean, there are some questions that my cynical ass still has about the movie because suspension of disbelief doesn't work on those who believe. For example, how does the government function in this world? They have to have some kind of control over superheroes, but that's never mentioned. Like, to get to Sky High, a bus drives off a closed highway, which I imagine is specifically for the purpose of getting to Sky High. That's something that the government would need to approve of, right? How does the staff get to Sky High? I mean, it's safe to assume that they take the bus, but because it's never directly stated or even hinted at, I think it's still a fair question to ask. But like I said at the beginning of that little tangent, that's just a pretty nitpicky thing to complain about, so it's not gonna affect my actual review too much. Something I like about this movie is that the adult characters aren't just unlikable set pieces. The dad in this movie is probably one of my favorite characters. I mean, he's played by Kurt Russell, which automatically gives him an advantage over every other character in the movie, to be fair. But Steve Stronghold is just such a fun and well-written character. I wish I could say the same for the mom, though. She kinda doesn't really do anything in this movie, which sucks because she's actually a fun character in the first act, but every appearance after that is less interesting than the one that came before it. I think the side hoes are all fun characters, but outside of Layla, they don't really serve that much of a purpose until the third act climax. The relationship with Will does become more distant, yes, but like I said, the only one that actually matters is Layla. Well, to be fair, I think the sidekicks are useful for creating conflict, like starting the game of Save the Citizen, but I didn't really find them to be interesting enough characters to make me feel like I should give a shit about them. I mean, their characters really do boil down to idiot, goth, and a mini version of Tucker from Danny Phantom. So that all being said, I don't really care about them. I think Will was a pretty well-written character as well. He wasn't even being a complete asshole or idiot. The only reason that he forgot about his date with Layla was because Gwen showed up at his door unannounced at the same time. I don't think that's an excuse. I don't think I would have forgot I had a whole ass date if someone showed up at my door. But I am saying it is probably reasonable that some people would have that slip their mind. All that is to say, I really do like the characters in this movie, and all the actors do pretty well too. I mean, it's not Oscar winning or anything, but I do think most of the actors do their job well and some do it great. At the worst, it's passable at times. Now for the plot of this movie, it's kinda dumb. Not that I think it needs to be as deep as something like Lady Bird, but I do think it's kinda stupid. Like, the plot is that Royal Pain, who is Gwen, wants to turn superheroes into babies because they wouldn't let her be evil or something. Like, her motivation is so unclear at times, it's almost impressive. This movie also does have some good camera work at times, but I think I just feel that way because in every other movie I've watched this month, they only use like shot reverse shot. But this movie definitely has some more variety in its camera work, which I appreciate. The score for the movie also slaps. It's not just a bunch of sci-fi generic superhero garbage, which is good because I was expecting a bunch of sci-fi generic superhero garbage. Maybe I'm a bit biased because I remember liking this movie as a kid, but can you blame me? This movie's just really fun. But this is HiKeiLoKei Productions. We don't have fun here. So it's time to score the movie. For Sky High, I'm feeling a solid 6.5 out of 10. It's really just okay, a little above average. It's not terrible, but it's still pretty good. That being said, I'd give this movie a 9 out of 10 on the fun score, and a 10 out of 10 on the fun score if you're watching the movie while high. Sky high. A lot of the jokes are funny, the writing is witty at times, and the movie never takes itself more seriously than it really should. This movie is just an hour and a half of good times, and I think that's all it set out to be. Okay, so as I wrote this script, I was just hitting 15K. If I get higher than that before this video comes out, I will put it on screen. But last week I ended up recording like 4 different outros because my growth was insane and I ended up using the first take anyway. So I'm just gonna let that be the case here. So thank you guys so much for all the support. Like, subscribe, comment, all that help me keep growing. I love doing this so much. It's a lot of fun. That being said, I am going to take a break from commentaries next week. I'm not sure if you guys are aware, but these take like maybe 20 to 40 hours a week to make, and I just need a little break for a bit. My upload for next week will be a review for the Super Mario Bros. Movie, which I'm very excited for. I even got the midnight tickets. But yeah, as usual, make sure you check out the socials, the Discord, all that jazz. So me, Nathan, and Kennedy are going to go hibernate for a week, and then we'll be back with Descendants on April 14th. You seriously scare me sometimes. You know that, Kennedy?